Welcome. So, since we just did Rocky,
Yeah.
we decided that we would do Creed and look at the kind of, we'll do our film studies paper on the compare and contrast with Rocky.
Compare and contrast the one essays I maybe enjoyed as a high school student.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know why. Just because it gives you like shit you don't have to like. There's like two pieces of things that you absorb.
Yeah.
And then, you just chat about it. Or like a report on a single person. I got to read his whole life. And then, then it feels like I'm just regurgitating shit. Where a compare and contrast feels like I get to think.
Yeah, and there's also like structural things, I mean, you can make a list of stuff that is either the same or different in what ways between the two different things.
Yeah, or choose a category. You could obviously we're doing movies, so you could just compare and contrast storytelling, just compare and contrast characters, compare and contrast filmography.
Yeah, depending on how long your film paper has to be. Yeah.
So we got Sebas in here tapping in, a Creed fan himself. First off, I'd like to say that maybe one of my top. This is going to be a huge statement. Top 10 favorite actors is in this thing, and it ain't Michael B.
It ain't Michael B.
It's the Delphi boxing coach.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Remember the Titans?
Yeah.
So good. I guess he is
That's
Creed's coach's kid?
Wood?
Maybe. He's not in it much, obviously. He becomes more of a character in 2 and 3, I believe.
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen in a long time either. Actually, I just saw 3 on the semi-while ago, but 2 I haven't watched in a long time.
He was, same guy was in Wood Harris.
Is that his name?
Yeah, Little Duke Burton.
Yeah,
Little Duke Burton. Yeah, he's in that Lakers series.
Yeah. Just to Remember the
He
Titans.
was old for it though, but he was really good.
I love him. Remember the Titans. And then you recently met my buddy Henry, who was a senior when I was a freshman in high school, and for some reason he always reminded me of Henry. Like he's goofy, but doesn't always want to show it. Mm-hmm. He's a great leader. He's not like stoic, but he's like kind of stoic, And obviously, Remember the Titans is the character maybe that reminds me of it most because of the sports relationships.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to watch these close together to see Rocky in both of them. Because my major complaint of Rocky 1 was that I don't know who Rocky is.
Yeah.
Like, is he dumb and slow? Is he a brute? Is he kind of charismatic and kind of funny? Is he wise? And in these movies, obviously, he's much older.
Right.
But they really, I think they nail who Rocky is or who I want him to be better in Creed than they do in these other movies.
Oh, by far.
Yeah,
by far.
He's awesome in Creed.
Yeah, he's really. I mean, this is why he's the only actor to be nominated in the lead actor category and supporting actor category for the same character.
Oh, I never knew that, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Rocky 1 doesn't really make sense to me still, but I wasn't alive when it came out, so it was hard for me to get the vibe of movies.
It was very game-changing at the time.
Yeah.
It was a movie definitely of its time, whereas this movie is definitely of its time as well. I don't think you could have made Creed the way Creed is back in 75, 76.
Yeah. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
But talk about, like, pace.
Yeah, pace is outstanding in this movie. There's
like you're always in.
Yeah.
You're either in on her story, you're in on their love story, you're in on his boxing story, or you're in on his mom's story. There's always a story that's filled out. It's not even like... Because sometimes people will breadcrumb stories to make it feel like there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Some Star Wars stuff, the newer ones, right? They're just like throwing breadcrumbs, and you don't really know what's going on. But this one, they have full stories around each character in like a perfect amount of time.
Yeah. Bianca, so much better character than Adrian was in the first movie.
Yeah. The actress is obviously pretty solid.
Yeah.
And the story itself and the character development is so good.
Yeah.
And it gets even better. I think 2 and 3, she gets filled out more, and it's really good.
Yeah. Just to sort of hit the high points of the story itself, we learn very early in this movie that Apollo Creed, who died in Rocky 4,
I think.
Yeah.
To Drago? The beginning of 4?
I believe that's correct, yeah. He had an affair with another woman who was not Marianne, his wife.
Yeah.
And had a child who was born after he died in the ring.
Yep.
and then that he I maybe never knew about. It's not clear.
That is unclear. It sounds like no, because I think he died before he was even born. So it was in like that training camp, probably.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. What we don't know is how. So his mother died when he was 10. Is that right?
He says young.
Young. I don't know.
But he talks about going to foster homes.
Yeah, in and out of foster homes, in and out of juvie.
Yeah.
And then Marianne Creed finds him.
Is she's a sitcom mom, right?
Yeah, that was she. Felicia Rashad was the wife on Cosby.
Okay.
And
Cosby's another thing I just didn't watch a ton of.
Michael B. Jordan was on Cosby
as a baby or something.
Not a baby, but he was a kid. But yeah.
Because I wonder how old Michael B. Jordan in this movie is. What, mid-20s? You think?
I believe he's somewhere between 25 and 30. He's younger than Rocky was in Rocky.
Michael B. himself, or you mean Adonis?
Adonis.
Yeah, Adonis. They make it seem like he's has a chance to become up and coming. Obviously.
Yeah.
So I would imagine, mid-20s, and Rocky's 30. But I wonder what Michael B. is, because he looks young.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's probably similar time. When did Creed come out? 2015?
2015.
Fruitvale Station is 2012?
Probably.
And obviously Michael B. had a career. He's been acting his whole life. But these two movies, I feel like, kind of put him on, right? Like, Fruitvale was one of his, like, oh, shit, this kid can act some serious shit.
Michael B. Jordan, middle of 3 children, born in Santa Ana, California, raised in Newark, New Jersey. That's an interesting combination of places to grow up. Son of Donna Davis, a high school counselor, and Michael A. Jordan. His middle name, Bakari, means noble promise in Swahili.
Interesting.
He is not related to Michael Jordan.
In the movie?
Yeah.
Creed was.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Michael B. was acting 28.
Yeah, Michael B. was 28.
Yeah, because he looks younger, right?
Yeah.
He was born in 87.
Oh, he's fucking my age. I was born in 88.
Yeah.
The two sexiest men on the world are
twin.
both.
That's your twin.
That's crazy. What's up, twin? we do have a lot of like. Yeah. Me and Michael B, man. That's crazy. Look at him. Both jacked. Both in our 30s. Yeah, he's probably 36, 37 right now.
He was homeschooled but allowed to play on the basketball team at New Jersey's Newark Arts High School.
Nerd.
Yeah.
The art sports.
Yeah.
He could have gone to what we were just talking about, where Lou and them went. Lou Al grew up in Newark, New Jersey. He didn't grow up, but he did high school there.
He did high school there,
Yeah.
Because and he came through the UK, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Charlie Villanueva's an NBA All-Star. Yeah, they got a bunch of freaks out there in Jersey.
He was in Toys R Us ads and Modell's Sporting Goods.
Yeah, I just knew he was like in it. Even Disney Channel, maybe? Did he have a little Disney Channel show or run?
I believe I'm going to get there in a second.
Yeah.
Huge anime fan, and I read this the other day. We're not covering Creed 3, but Creed 3 is structurally an anime.
I heard that when it came out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Try to tap all the nerds in.
That's why it's slower.
Oh.
Probably.
Maybe. Yeah, because anime's kind of slow for
Yeah.
like the Zoomers to be into it, huh?
Yeah.
Even Dragon Ball.
Yeah. It's a long game.
Yeah.
He was in
Yeah,
the
Epic
second
Train
Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah, it was not a good movie.
I mean, I don't know if the first was any better, but that one was bad.
Yeah.
The first one was maybe better. You get Jessica Alba and she's like half naked in it. That's kind of worth the whole movie. She's Invisigirl and I think her clothes like go invisible or whatever, you know?
That's a trick.
Yeah. Jessica Alba's worth for sure.
It's
She
clickbait.
He
You know
was
Jessica Alba?
Yeah, I know.
Because that was our queen. That was
top
oh
of the
yeah,
line.
yeah. She was it forever. Yeah, she was it forever.
at around the same time as this, I guess. He was offered the role of Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton.
Oh, he kind of has it.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, Straight Outta Compton was all right. I know that thing got so much love. That was all right.
It's okay.
I liked it.
Yeah. Marianne adopts Adonis Johnson. His
Yeah.
last name is Johnson.
Which seems around age 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah. Yeah, probably preteen for sure.
Yeah, pre-high school.
But obviously in a rough place and wants to fight everybody already.
Yeah, he's knocking people out in juvie. Obviously got through juvie because of violence. You get the vibe. And then, but as soon as she kind of says who she is and that he has a dad, you get, again, that kid's a good actor too. They kind of like change his facial expressions. You're like, all right, this kid has a heart in him. You know, there's good.
Yeah.
There's good in him still. I feel it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Sebas? You know
It's
what I mean.
Star Wars.
All right, fine.
Come on.
I know a little bit.
I'm just testing
testing
you.
you. I'm just testing you.
Then there's a time jump, and he is working a corporate job, but he's fighting in Mexico,
And he's living with his mom. It seemed like,
and he's living with mom, maybe.
which Creed is obviously rich as shit.
Yeah,
She did
she's
fine.
Yeah, she did fine. She's not poor.
Yeah, in this fake world that we're in, which I do like, they tie in like a real ESPN
Yeah,
PTI
yeah.
and shit. I kind of like when it's like that because
Yeah.
it feels real. And they talk about Creed being one of the best fighters of all time and in the conversation for the best. So they throw him in, which, kind of works out, right? Like in the world, if you go like Muhammad Ali's kind of on the way out, Creed and Rocky are on the way in.
Yeah.
And then Mike Tyson probably took over.
Yeah.
And then now we're into Creed. Like the timelines do kind of line up where it is a possibility. But yeah, they talk about it being the greatest ever. Holy.
Don't know what that
I think
was.
it was the trash can falling. Or the lid.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's fighting in Mexico for $20. He's figuring it out.
Yeah.
Trying to brawl. His mom doesn't obviously want him to fight.
Because she lost her husband, who died in the ring.
Yeah, of course, right? Of course. And I just don't know. Dad stuff. First thing, I cried this whole movie. The entire thing, front to back, I cried.
I'm gonna tell you that every time I've probably seen this movie 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And every time it gets me.
Yeah,
every
I cried.
single time.
I cried every time. Whenever, and I've mentioned on these movie reviews you do, if you mix sports and you mix dad stuff, like I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
And he's doing all that. So I don't understand what I don't understand. And that's this whole group, the whole fucking company here has dad issues, Dean too. Dean was on here. Everybody's got dad issues in here. I don't know if I've never met my dad, if I'm going to like love boxing.
Yeah, unless it's just, I think that we're led to believe that there is some genetic thing
Right.
that,
And maybe a hard thing. Maybe I do.
Yeah.
Maybe there is something like, fuck, dude, my dad was that guy. Like, fuck, I got to go box.
and it might have something to do with how old he was when he found out who his dad was.
Right.
Because he
Yeah,
didn't
he was like
know.
12. Yeah, 10,
he was
12.
he was not
No.
told.
And then all of a sudden you think it's cool. Then you start,
Yeah.
and you've already been punching kids in the parking lot.
Yeah.
The other thing about this, they show basically until the very end that he's very self-taught and he just watches videos.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool and kind of true. I think I talk about this on podcasts and off often that like supposedly Bones Jones, who is the best pound-for-pound MMA fighter in the history of MMA, literally like learned Muay Thai on YouTube.
Right.
And, is insane. So like it's not that crazy to think. And so when he gets into training, all he's asking for is like crumbs. Hey, give me a tip. Give me a drill. Give me because he knows he's knocking out random fools pretty good in Mexico, self-taught, gives him a lot of confidence.
Yeah. He quits his job and wants to box full time, and mom is not happy with that.
Yeah, I wonder what that was. Like, what's
What
the
his
line
job?
there? Or no, what the line was that like tipped that edge?
I don't know.
Did he go to Delphi boxing right then, before or after he quit?
It was after.
It was after.
Because
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the tipping point.
I think it's so. Well,
That his dad's trainer's son, who he
Yeah.
thought would be his mentor, told him no.
right.
And so he said, "Oh no," and then throws the bird and says, "All right, well then I'm going all in. I'm going to show you."
Right.
I wonder if that's the tipper.
Yeah, I did. A thing to note: Delphi was the home of Apollo, literally.
Yeah.
In Greek mythology.
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
And-
both.
and the hotel that they stay in Liverpool
Yeah.
is the Adelphi Hotel.
Oh.
Same thing.
I didn't see that.
Same thing.
But I knew the Delphi, and then I looked up Front Street where he ends up training. We don't have to go pace by pace because there's a million little jumps in between
Yeah.
there. Although they all it doesn't feel crammed in the movie.
No.
Although a million things kind of happen right away to kind of set up what's happening. But training for his championship fight, he goes to Front Street Boxing.
Yeah.
And there's something in the back of my head because when I was with Reebok, there was some kind of I don't want to say charity, but there was like a story that Reebok did. And Reebok did a bunch of cool things with the communities in Boston that weren't doing so good. Like we went and went to a foster kids home and like redid their garden one day, a bunch of athletes, which was cool. And it was fun because they're all like, it's all my buddies that like we all just deadlifted 550 together, and so we all know we're physically capable, and so we're just smashing dirt around, like we're crushing the shit.
Yeah.
Jen was there, like we're just mobbing on this thing, just redid this whole lawn. So they did a lot of outreach, and I know they did something. I thought it was called Front Street Boxing in Boston. So something rang in my head. I was like, oh, I wonder if that's fucking real. And I Googled it, and it's definitely real in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
The building, the inside, all like a legit boxing gym, which is cool. So where he trains there, with Rocky and some random boxing friend, I guess.
Yeah, let me get to that in just a second. Like, initially, he goes to Philadelphia. He goes to Mickey's gym.
Yeah, because his mom kicks him out halfway.
Yeah, because Mickey's gym is the gym from Rocky.
Yeah.
And the thing that's very weird and curious about it is that in one of the later Rockies, after Mickey dies, he leaves the gym to Rocky.
Sure.
So it seems very possible that Rocky still owns that gym.
Yeah.
But I think maybe the memories are too much there, and so he can't be there.
Yeah.
So he's got the other guy.
Everyone's dead.
Running it. Yeah, everyone's
Your wife
dead.
dies, so we find out that Creed obviously died in the ring, which ends up being Rocky's best friend.
Right.
Paulie, his other best friend,
Yeah.
dies. Maybe from age
Piece
or
of
alcoholic.
shit, by the way.
Yeah. His wife dies. So if I'm Rocky, I'm not wanting to box either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Creed or Adonis, Michael B. shows up to his restaurant, which is like a funny thing that he's a restaurant owner.
Yeah. When you consider the lavish lifestyle they had in California.
He's got money somewhere probably.
Yeah, I'm sure he still has money. I don't think that's a question.
No, I think that's like the storyline is that Rocky just doesn't want that life.
He just chooses to live the way he wants to
he's
live,
happy. This is where he's
comfortable.
from.
Yeah.
He has a little bar. He just kind of hangs out. It looks like it's an Italian bar. I could tell by the you might not know this, Sebas. It's not very common on the West Coast. But those tablecloths.
The checkered tablecloths.
Is just fucking Italian. Yeah, you're just getting the best pizza of your life and the best salad you've ever had at a spot like that. Every Italian spot. My dad's best friend in Portland, who's a New York Italian cat, owned one.
Yeah.
Like everything in Cleveland, all the little Italian joints have those. Like just so typical. And obviously other people use it too. Like it's kind of a typical picnic blanket. It is a typical pattern, but hella Italian spots. Okay. And obviously they lean into Rocky's Italianness in Sly's Italianness in Rocky.
In Rocky, yeah.
And it really shows at the end here. His nose got bigger. He talks better than he did in Rocky.
Yeah.
Like he's just so Italian. All the wise shit he's saying to him, all the silly jokes. He's playing with him and his girlfriend during the whole thing. Like, very Italian uncle vibes.
Yeah, he oh god, what was I gonna say? He doesn't want Adonis to train at Mickey's gym, so he takes him to the other place.
Just because of the fight, though, right?
Yeah, just because of the fight, but I think there's more to it, and I think you just don't know.
So who's running the gym at Mickey's son is supposedly the best kid in Philly at the time, and that guy finds out, I don't know how. Oh, he called Marianne. He does some investigative work and finds out Michael B. Jordan is Creed's kid.
Yeah, that's been on the low. He doesn't want anybody to know.
He goes by Johnson. He doesn't want the world to know, which is understandable too. And then the guy who runs the boxing match thinks it's probably just a trampoline for his son to beat a Creed. So sets up this fight in which Rocky doesn't want Creed training there and decides to kind of train him.
Yeah, but the when he brings him into that Front Street gym, and that group of guys comes over, that is the realest moment I think in the whole movie.
Yeah, it's cool.
And this is a very realistic movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But that was super real because those guys felt like that was their real job, and I didn't look it up.
You know Stitch, right?
Yeah.
Like the real Stitch.
Yeah.
Do you know Stitch?
No.
So the cut man that is part of his training team at the Front Street is known as the best cut man in MMA.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a real cut man. He works in the UFC. He left or got fired. There's something weird there.
Something
Weird happened with the UFC, but he was like famous in the UFC for being the corner guy. So he's his legitimate job.
That's why all of his hand business around that is so perfect.
Yeah.
It's just completely believable because he's
the best.
He's
the best
really
in the
doing
game.
it. He's really doing it.
Speaking of that, when they tell him how many fingers the guy's holding up,
yes,
so good. I don't remember watching that the first time.
I do. That's really, really clever.
Yeah, it's cool because I think in the UFC at least, because the UFC is such a big league, you don't have your own cut man. They provide them, and that's who Stitch was. But in boxing, I think it's part of your crew.
Part of your crew, that pretty much has to be, right?
Yeah, because even sparring, you're gonna fucking jack up your knuckles and shit.
But when he brought him in there, and the way those guys were like semicircled around him,
Yeah.
and you could just like feel how supportive they were. Like this guy, you know, he's nobody.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's the son of somebody.
Yeah, and the love for Rocky's so deep.
It's so oh my god. I mean, talk about the first really emotional scene to me, and that was that one. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, these guys are going to take care of him, kind of regardless. They're going to take care of him.
The roots on Rocky are cool in the city because they show that he's like a local hero, but he's not a celebrity. You know, like everyone knows him, everyone kind of respects him, but no one bugs him. And even same thing with Creed in a sense, where even the girlfriend eventually finds out, you know, Michael B. Jordan's a Creed and like how famous he is.
Yeah,
They play all that up. I do wonder, like, worldwide how famous Rocky is. Because they make it that Creed is the greatest of all time. And then Rocky's, like, famous where everyone says what's up. Like, oh, I didn't know your uncle was Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
Like, she knows, but she's from Philly.
yeah.
So is he just, like, a Philly legend? Or is he, like, the guy? Because that's a true thing. Like, you can have the... Like, boxing is just as big now as ever. Like, there's money flowing everywhere.
Yeah.
And I can't name a champ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, Rocky could have been the champ, and no one really knows besides Philly, like, grabbed onto him.
Maybe.
You know? I don't know, you know, because it is such a local thing, and that's so cool, like, with every city. Obviously, Philadelphia is a giant city, and they show some better parts of it this time. Versus Rocky 1, they just literally show the hood.
Yeah.
Here, even though they try to show some of that culture with Meek Mill rap, and all the guys on motorbikes, which is a very Meek Mill thing. I know it's a very Philly thing, but Meek Mill made that really cool on the internet. I think it's actually how he got arrested in New York. He was screaming around on one of those bikes, yeah. But they show, like, the Philly culture. They show the hip-hop culture. They show the evolution of boxing, which did start to intertwine with hip-hop culture in the 90s and 2Ks. So I thought all that was kind of cool, too, where I don't know if they're... I mean, it probably is Italian... I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence that Rocky's Italian and my uncle was from Italy. That was a pro boxer. But I feel like there is an Italian-American root of boxing, too. In, like, the World War II-ish era.
With Rocky owning a restaurant, and essentially, like, he owns a restaurant, and he's essentially the host. He's not...
Yeah.
He's not really running it.
No. Yeah.
I mean,
you see him hosting, kind of, and you see him packing stuff from a van. That's
right.
the only work you see.
But yeah, that's the only work you see for sure. But in Raging Bull, Jake LaMotta, as a retired fighter,
Owns a restaurant. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of very Italian, too.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, for sure.
Like,
for sure.
Like, Irish folks, might open a bar or something, and fucking Italian folks
open a restaurant,
Yeah.
Italian restaurant.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the generation, that's where things start to get really tight. And on the West Coast, you know, for Sebas or other people that grew up there, it's very normal to have, like, immigrant-type families. Where, like, half our members, their parents moved here from the Philippines or whatever.
Yeah.
But on the East Coast, that happened 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And so that's very common for me because my family's tied into that. You know, my family literally floated over from Italy onto Ellis Island, you know, like that's all very true. And like, I understand it, but West Coasters might not understand that that's Rocky is that generation,
Yeah.
right? Like his dad probably floated over. And so he had to come up. That's why he grew up poor, probably. That's how he had to build a career kind of thing. On the West Coast, again, there's so common to the diversity. But back there, yeah, the Italians and the Irish were the only immigrants.
Yeah.
They were the immigrants in the early 1900s.
And just my family came so long before Ellis Island. So it's a totally different,
more like Boston,
a totally different
shit.
experience. Yeah. The Carolinas or whatever, and Virginia, and
the first
whatever, the colonials. They're all colonials.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? The love story is a million times better in
good.
Creed than it is in Rocky, because I don't want to say it's because neither one of them seem like they're on the spectrum, but
yeah, I mean, obviously Adrian.
I'm losing Seabass.
Adrian obviously isn't charismatic.
No,
and so like you can movies to not show charismatic people just seems backwards. Like, yeah, you want to set the scene, but if it's a main character, that's awkward. Like, why are we filming that?
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. Bianca has a lot of walls.
Yeah,
A lot of boundaries.
And you start to dig into it a little bit more in the upcoming movies, but this one they show her, and she mentions her becoming deaf.
Yeah, she has progressive hearing loss. She wears hearing aids.
Yeah, she's a musician trying to make it, and maybe that's some of the just like East Coast shit too. You know, like they always talk about. We've talked about it here too. There's a comedian that did it. I just don't know who, but always talks about the difference between being nice and being kind. And they talk about a lot of the East Coasters are truly kind. They'll come off cold and they'll tell you you're a fucking idiot, but they're going to help you change the tire on your car. Where in California, per se, people would say everyone's so nice. They'll see you with a flat tire and they'll say like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That's so inconvenient." And then they'll speed off.
Yeah.
You know? And that's just so true. And so like, I think she's kind of a representation of that. Like you can tell her heart's kind. Like she's really sweet. But like she doesn't want to let him in the house. She doesn't let him take on a date. She's like, "No,
Right.
fuck you, buddy. Let me do my thing. I'm over here." It's kind of like a New York versus California joke. And Philly's obviously a giant city, but it's basically fucking New York. Same people, same shit. Yeah, it's
same general idea.
yeah, cold, fucking, hardworking folk. So yeah, they build her character good. They do build that good, although like the love scenes are fast. You know, like they have one date, and then all of a sudden they're going to Rocky's house, and she's at the boxing matches, and he's at the music thing.
Yeah, it was interesting. That part's definitely interesting. It's interesting the way that that Adonis was able to push Rocky in the direction he wanted him to go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was manipulative because it was too obvious to be manipulative.
Well, and I think it comes from a genuine spot. Like he calls him Unc, like lovingly. He knows that it was his dad's best friend.
Yeah.
Like he knows there was ties there. And that's where like this movie just is better than Rocky, sadly, because there's like emotional ties there.
Yeah.
Rocky's, everyone in his life that he loved is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Adonis, everyone in his life that he knew or should have loved is never around. You know, so for them to have like it's like Creed is their mutual tie. And if you ever lost anyone that like died or like lost someone that you loved, there is a tie there. Like there's some friends that I had that were mutual friends with my best friend who passed, and like there's just always something there. Like, oh, like you knew Jared, like you knew my best friend, you know, like you spent time with him. There's always something there. And so I think that's kind of this Creed. Yeah, Rocky's lost. Rocky's just fucking running the clock, and he talks about dying in it. Obviously, ends up he has cancer, and he talks about like, yeah, man, everyone's gone. Like I'll die right now. Like I don't give a fuck.
Those scenes were honestly hard to watch too.
Well, him going to the graves. I don't really visit graves. Most people I love were cremated, and I don't even know where they are. But it just seems so raw. Like he just sits there and he's just mumbling his words. He's like vlogging.
He keeps a chair hanging in the tree.
Yeah, I love that. He's just reading the newspaper. He's like, let's see what's going on today. He just wants to kick it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's got no one. He's got no one. And so for, I think, him to come out of his shell once he sees that Donnie isn't just there for fame or something, I think, you know, he had to feel him out a little bit.
So before this movie started filming, Sage Stallone died of a heart attack, his son.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so...
Because he's in, like we said, he's in Rocky 4 and 5 or 5.
Yeah, and then he's played by somebody else in Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he nearly had a full breakdown over it, and Coogler was able to convince him to use that film as a dedication to his son. So a lot of the shit that you see him working through, you see Rocky working through, I think that a lot of that is Stallone working through some of the same kind of issues.
Probably true. I mean, yeah, the mental hurdles he probably went through as an actor or like human. Yeah. And we see parallels.
We see a picture of Sage as a little kid.
Yeah, and they mention it.
Yeah. This is just a aside. You know what Rocky is a nickname for? Robert.
I never heard that.
It's universally.
If
you're not Bobby or Rob or whatever, you can be Rocky.
Because I worked with a Rocky.
And his I
met a female Rocky too. That might have been just her name though.
Probably. Yeah. His son's name is Robert. So
maybe I'll name my kid Rocky.
He's junior.
Or my dog. Rocky's a good name, dude.
Apollo's a pretty good name.
Yeah, and so is Donnie.
Yeah.
Adonis.
Yeah.
Call him Donnie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good name. Adonis is a bit much.
It's a little bit of a mouthful. I realize why it was done, but
Well, just like even dogs, like a lot of people name their dog Zeus, and I just grew up learning about all that. It just feels weird.
yeah.
And I know different cultures and some people just don't care. And it's not like I don't pray to Zeus, but it just feels weird. You know, even naming my dog Jesus, that would feel weird. You know,
Jesus.
that's what I was gonna say. Different cultures is kind of normal to name your kid Jesus, but
Yeah.
like to me, for some reason, all that gets a little weird. So Adonis is a cool tie, but then you just call him Donnie, and then it doesn't feel as weird.
Yeah. This was the first Rocky film that was not written by Sylvester Stallone. First Rocky,
Interesting.
extension. I think we talked about this a little bit before. It's probably the most seamless like handoff.
Yeah. No, it's good. There's a lot of again, the character building's good. The stories within them feel real and like emotional. The music, the fighting itself is good. There's more training and more fighting, right? If you're going to make a boxing movie, which they did in 2015 versus the 70s, you're going to have to keep someone's attention. So there's a lot more gym stuff. There's a lot more training stuff. The music's turned up into like a hip hop vibe, much deeper culture. Again, the Conlon, is the bad guy?
Yeah.
Conlon's vibes are like kind of like Creed's in a sense, where like he's only in there like 10 seconds, but he's a big part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like Creed in Rocky.
Yeah.
Should I say?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like we said,
But he has more character development than Creed did in the first Rocky movie.
they do build up like who he is in a sense because of the English stuff, and they kind of
Right.
build the America versus England
Yeah. And
ties.
Graham McTavish is his
Yeah.
his
trainer.
manager, trainer.
Yeah, whoever.
Yeah, he plays a couple different characters in Outlander, and he's been a character actor for a long time.
And again, I don't know boxing in the 70s, and I don't know that much about boxing now. I'm a very casual fan, but it seemed like a random stretch for Creed to fight Rocky in Rocky 1, right?
Yeah,
Like, oh, they just picked this out of a hat.
yeah,
They got nothing to do. This one feels like it could happen. The Conlon versus Adonis.
yeah.
Because he had 15 fights. He's got his father's name. And boxing is a business that would try to sell that.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like even the Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou was the heavyweight champ of the UFC, had no boxing, and then he gets a title shot
Yeah,
because they know it sells tickets. And so the Adonis one to Conlon feels like, oh, okay, I could see HBO doing this. Like this is going to make money for them. It just felt more real, where the Rocky one's like, all right, they did that for the movie.
yeah,
You know, it just like takes me out of it a little bit. Like, again, the ESPN announcing on it, like it just feels like, oh, this feels like I live here. And obviously, generationally, I did, right? I'm in my mid-20s in 2015,
Yeah.
so it feels more real to me.
yeah, yeah.
Where maybe in the 70s it did feel real to.
This segment of PTI that was in
Yeah,
there.
I love it.
And then Kellerman was fucking outstanding in this movie. He was just playing himself.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he wrote his lines or whatever, but it was just perfect. It was literally perfect.
Yeah, I wonder because this movie got some love when it came out, but I feel like it is a better movie. Like I feel like it's kind of underrated still.
It may be. I think it's got to be the very best of the whole series.
Probably because 2 and 3, you know, they're gotta make them, but they're solid. And yeah, maybe we'll have to do like a Rocky 4 or 5 to see the evolvement of
Yeah.
it. Because I've seen them all, but I've never like watched them
This
to
way,
report on
yeah.
them. So maybe Rocky 4 and 5 speed up a little bit, and obviously the characters develop because Rocky has 5 movies, 6 really. So maybe it gets there, but just how much good story, good emotion, and like good action they show within just introducing all these characters are new besides Rocky. I mean, Marianne's kind of around, but
Yeah, different actress, obviously.
yeah,
Um,
Marianne was the name of my godmother.
I think that 2 different women played Marianne over the course of the Rocky movies,
Makes sense.
and I get why they didn't. I think one of them was not available, and the other one they decided not to bring back. If you're casting this movie, you get a whole lot more out of bringing in Felicia Rashad
Yeah,
than you do just the legacy actress for the one of them for the role. I don't think so. I think that's a business no brainer.
right. And she was good at it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
she was great, and
Yeah.
most of her scenes are by herself.
Yeah.
Or at least
Yeah.
half of her scenes are by herself.
Yeah, and they're fairly short. Yeah, they're kind of monologue-y.
Yeah. Stallone rewrote all the Rocky dialogue because he said that the the timing, the cadence of the lines wasn't right.
Interesting.
So I'm sure that they probably came around to say the same thing, but like you can see it's the same character. It's just it's an evolution of the same guy.
No, Rocky becomes cool, man. He's wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adonis is trying to keep getting coaching from him, and he's like, "This is what I do. Like, I'm coaching your brain." Basically, he says, like he says, like, "I'm not gonna coach you. I can't do all this stuff. I can't teach you how to hit like I used to, but I can teach. I'm coaching your brain, and your heart,
and I can tell you about strategy. I can tell you about
Yeah, he was good. He was really good,
and I clearly a very good conditioning coach.
Yeah, yeah. I thought they would maybe lean more into Donnie watching film, like they did in the beginning, to show that he like studied the game, and then obviously when he first meets Rocky, he talks a ton about the history, but it was his dad. So like I thought maybe his niche was that, and obviously they don't really go into it. Like Rocky, they go into saying he's not athletic, right?
Yeah.
They basically show like Rocky is just, he hits pretty hard and he's just a tough son of a bitch, and that's how he succeeds.
Yeah.
They haven't really showed you or told you why Michael B is good yet.
Yeah.
You know, like in the fight, they show like, all right, he's pretty tough and he's athletic, but they don't like give him a style, I guess, per se. And I thought maybe his niche as a fighter, because he watched all that film, would be like he's just like he outworks like the non-ring shit.
He's like a nerd.
Yeah, yeah. You know, because that's what they say about like the Tom Brady's and the Peyton Mannings, and man, they just watch tape and they just know football better than anyone knows fucking football. LeBron James, they talk about how much he knows the game. So I thought maybe that would be his story, but that's the one thing that I feel like planted seeds and didn't develop.
Yeah, that's a good point. Did you know? Speaking of watching film, though, when he's watching the footage from the first Rocky Apollo Creed fight,
Yeah.
help me see if I'm remembering this correctly. I felt like he was fighting as Rocky.
Yeah.
when he was shadowboxing.
Yeah, no.
He was going against his dad.
Yeah, I feel like he was fighting his dad.
Yeah.
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 No, I
Okay.
agree.
So I'm not wrong.
No,
So
it was a cool scene. That's where I thought it would all tie in. Like, oh, maybe this guy's just like mega studying, and this is how he learns.
Yeah.
And so he just goes. No, he was definitely trying to like, kind of fight his dad.
So there were like basically 3 big boxing sequences in the whole film. When he's fighting in Mexico,
Yep.
there's his first real fight,
Yep.
which is all one shot. It's all steady cam. There are no cuts in that one at all. Which is, as we talked about in Rocky. Rocky was the third movie ever to use a steady cam, and so appropriate that they shot it this way. That fight is a shot for shot recreation of the fight in Rocky IV.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm sure there's a tie somewhere.
Yeah, it's shot for shot for Rocky IV. It's just shot, all in one.
Yeah.
All in one no cuts. And then there's the final fight, the 12 rounds versus 15 in Rocky, 12 in Creed.
Yeah. Yeah, and he loses obviously by split decision. Kind of a similar ending-ish.
Yeah, very similar to.
Although he didn't set his goals either. I think his goals were to get the belt.
Yeah.
He didn't say like, oh, I just got to last with this guy. There wasn't kind of that story. It was just like, I think the story for this was slightly, or the goal for the fight was slightly less spoken, but it was just to prove that you belong.
Yeah.
Right? Because the whole thing, he has Creed on his shorts now.
Yeah.
He's getting announced as a Creed. He's like, am I a Creed? And like, do I deserve that name in a sense? It's like the deeper meaning.
I love that the shorts say Creed in the front and Johnson on the back.
Yeah, they're dope. Yeah, it's a cool touch. It's sent by his mom, who he hasn't talked to. Yeah, that made me cry.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that was dope.
Me too.
And then even him, and then obviously the girlfriend coming in at the end.
Yeah,
very very similar. He's all beat up at the end.
Yeah,
very very similar. Similar vibes.
Yeah, and then the end of the film is walking up the Rocky steps.
Yeah, Rocky's all beat
in
up.
Philly with Rocky.
Yeah,
who is diminished from his however long he's been on chemo.
Yeah, there's a couple scenes where he's like throwing up and shit, and the makeup and stuff's crazy.
Yeah,
like they made him hella bald, hella pale. Maybe it's CGI even, I don't know, but he actually looks like insanely old and sick. Where in a couple of the earlier shots in the restaurant, he looks good.
Yeah, for sure. And just showing the way that Adonis was taking care of Creed, and really forcing him to get chemo and to get treatment.
Well, because neither of them had families
Yeah.
for a long time,
It's like-
like Rocky kind of seems like he grew up like Adonis.
Oh, a little bit. Like,
you know?
Yeah, you don't really know anything about
Yeah.
his family or.
Yeah, and then obviously loses his adult family, and then, Adonis doesn't really have one, so it does feel like full circle in a sense.
Yeah. I love this movie.
Yeah, I like it
It's
too.
so good.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Um,
Yeah, you guys should watch it. You should definitely watch the Rockies though too. Even though they're slow, there's pieces to get from it, and I think it makes all this the better.
And we were talking about this in the Rocky thing. It's impossible to watch the first movie, and imagine all that would come from it.
Right. Yeah, you don't think it grows, but it's a whole universe. It really is.
And I think it's pretty clear that Coogler is probably a better writer-director than Stallone. But Stallone, it's difficult to argue with his success.
Right.
You know, between the Rocky movies and the First Blood series and all the other action adventure shit that he did.
I mean, they're iconic.
Yeah.
So like he obviously had some kind of recipe. Otherwise, they would never stick in everyone's lives and brains.
Right. Yeah.
Even
sure.
Rambo has a fucking 5 movies or some shit.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap her up.
Shall we give a little rating here?
Yeah.
Rainbow shorts? Not rainbow shorts. Flag shorts.
Happy June.
Yes, happy June. Flag shorts.
Flag shorts. What I give the other one? I give the other one like a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna give this one a 4-4. I think it's a better movie.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it more. But again, without Rocky, there's none of this. So like Rocky, again, because of the nostalgia for me, because it built all that. Again, there is no Creed without no Rocky. There is no Adonis. And because even in Creed, my favorite character is Rocky.
Yeah, you can't. That's
He's so good. Yeah, he's so
undeniable.
fun. Like Donnie's good too, and I actually don't really like Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, me either.
Besides, he's my twin. He's fine. He's fine. Like I like him in Fruitvale and stuff, and he's in. I like him in Black Panther. He's in movies that I like, but for some reason, there's something stopping me from loving him. But Rocky in Creed is one of my favorite dudes. You got Sebas, a little rating?
I'll give it like me personally, it's one of my favorite movies. I'll give it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, it's good.
5 out of 5.
It's good.
I gotta say, I think it's a 5. It's such a great evolution of the story, and it's an emotional film in the way that most of the other ones are not. You are like tied into very
That's true.
recognizable, grounded emotions, and that's Coogler.
Yeah, it feels real. It's good.
It feels it. I mean, obviously, not everything in this movie is something that is likely to happen, but it's not impossible. Everything feels, real.
Yeah. No, it feels like an ESPN 30 for 30. Feels like definitely could happen.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, new episodes Wednesday, Friday. I'm Solomon Mike. Where you want to find me? 3rd Street Barbell, Sacramento, California. 3sb.co for all your clothing needs.
I'm at DJ McDean on the social media. Oh, wait. Seabass.
I am Sebastian _Brambila on IG.
I am at DJ McDean on all the social media. This show is 50% facts, where percent is a word and 50 is just numbers. 50% facts is a Spreaker Prime podcast in association with iHeartMedia on the Obscure Celebrity Network. And we'll talk to you next time. I don't have any idea how long that was, but it seemed like it was about long enough.
40.